Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Judge dismisses dozens of potential jurors on the first day as Donald Trump's historic criminal hush money trial kicks off in New York. Israeli military pledges response to Iran attack amid calls for restraint. US President Joe Biden reiterates Washington's commitment to Israel's defense. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammad Shia al-Sudani calls for restraint in Middle East during talks with US President Biden in Washington. Campaigning intensifies for first phase of general elections in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address public rallies in Bihar and West Bengal. Congress to organize road shows and rallies in Northeast India. Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial is now underway in New York City. He's accused of paying hush money to an adult actress ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Trump is now the first former president to face a criminal trial. William Denslow reports from outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan.
Day one of Donald Trump's criminal hush money case is in the books. Donald Trump faces 34 counts of falsifying business records. Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty. Entering the courthouse, he once again railed against the justice system, saying it has been weaponized against him. He says that this case is unconstitutional, all in a bid to hurt his chances of winning re-election come November.
It's a scam trial. If you read all of the legal pundits, all of the legal scholars today, there's not one that I see that said this is a case that should be brought or tried. It's a scam. It's a political witch hunt. It continues, and it continues forever.
There were some wins and some losses for Donald Trump and his legal team at the start of proceedings. When it comes to Donald Trump's losses, well, he was seeking for Judge Juan Merchan to recuse himself from this case. Donald Trump is furious with the gag order that the judge has slapped on him. Judge Merchan, though, ruling that he will not be stepping aside during this case. Another big win for prosecutors is that Karen McDougal, who claims to have had an affair with Donald Trump, will be allowed to testify. A win for Donald Trump's team, though, is that the Access Hollywood tape in which Donald Trump is heard saying that he can grab women by the genitals will not be allowed to be played, but prosecutors will be allowed to at least reference it during this trial. Jury selection is underway, and it's expected to be a long and laborious process to try and find 12 people deemed to not have a strong and biased opinion of the former president, either in favour or against him. Just to give you a sense of how hard it'll be to whittle down a jury pool to 12 members, well, of the initial pool of 96 people, when asked if they had strong opinions of Donald Trump, more than half of them put their hands up and were dismissed from selection immediately. Jury selection is a process that's expected to last up to 2 weeks, and this trial as a whole could last up to 2 months. William Denslow in New York reporting for DD India.
Israel's war cabinet had met on Monday to discuss its response to Iran's attack. Prime Minister Netanyahu summoned his war cabinet for the second time in less than 24 hours over Iran's missile and drone attack. Israel, however, did not make public whether a decision has been reached. While Iran has signaled it considers the matter closed, Israeli military's chief of staff said the attack would not go unanswered.
I want to thank all our international partners who stood up to Iran's aggression. Iran's attack has created new opportunities for cooperation in the Middle East. We are closely assessing the situation. We remain at our highest level of readiness. Iran will face the consequences for its actions. We will choose our response accordingly.
Several Western countries have strongly condemned Iran's actions but urged Israel to avoid an escalation of the conflict in the Middle East. US President Joe Biden on Monday said he did not want the conflict spreading and reiterated his demand for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Biden has hailed the unprecedented military effort to defend Israel as he hosted Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammad Shia al-Sudani at the White House.
The United States is committed to Israel's security. We're committed to a ceasefire that will bring the hostages home and preventing conflict from spreading beyond what it already has. We're also committed to the security of our personnel and partners in the region, including Iraq.
During the talks, the Iraqi Prime Minister called for restraint in the Middle East as tensions soar between Iran and Israel after Tehran's weekend strikes. Sudani said that Iraq encourages all the efforts of stopping the expansion of the area of conflict, especially the latest development.
And we encourage all the efforts about stopping the expansion of the area of conflict, especially the latest development, and we encourage all for restraint and to protect the safety and security of the
Due to the ongoing events in the Middle East, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has postponed his trip to India this week. The National Security Advisor Sullivan looks forward to holding the ISET annual review at the next earliest possible date and remains personally committed to advancing a deeply consequential and multifaceted partnership with India. Similarly, the President looks forward to the next meeting of the Quad leaders and continuing our efforts with India to deliver results for the American and Indian people, as well as our partners, in support of our shared vision for a free, open and prosperous Indo-Pacific. The International Atomic Energy Agency chief said that he is concerned about possible Israeli targeting of the Iranian nuclear facilities. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi said that Iran closed its nuclear facilities on Sunday over security concerns. The IAEA inspections of Iranian facilities will resume on Tuesday.
We always call for extreme restraint. Actually, what we were discussing here, which was not about Iran or the Middle East, is a tangible example of the need to avoid any physical attack against any nuclear facility. So, but we are there. We continue our work.
A knife attack during a service at an Assyrian church in Sydney was a terrorist attack motivated by suspected religious extremism. Australian police said this as the incident triggered clashes outside the church between police and an angry crowd of the bishop's followers who demanded the attacker to be handed over to them. At least 4 people were wounded in the attack, including the bishop on Monday. Police has urged people to not take the law into their hands.
Of all the material, I declared that it was a terrorist incident. We believe there are elements that are satisfied in terms of religious motivated extremism and of course the intimidation of the public through that person's acts by attending that church whilst it was being live streamed.
Meanwhile, the Australian President Anthony Albanese has assured all support to the investigators.
This is a disturbing incident. There is no place for violence in our community. There is no place for violent extremism. We are a peace-loving nation. This is a time to unite, not divide as a community and as a country.
Police arrested a male teenager at the scene on Monday and were forced to hold him at the church for his own safety as the crowd of worshippers gathered outside. Police said there was a degree of premeditation as the male attacker travelled to the church far from his home with a knife. It was the second major stabbing attack in just 3 days in Australia's most populous city after 6 people were killed and 12 were injured in a knife attack at a beachside mall in the Bondi area on April 13th. Donors have pledged over $2.13 billion for war-torn Sudan at a conference in Paris on Monday. French President Emmanuel Macron said during the event that the amount gathered will help meet the population's most urgent needs. Millions face severe levels of hunger as a result of a power struggle that broke out in Sudan 1 year ago.
Et même s'il y a aujourd'hui
Our duty was to make it clear that we are not forgetting what is happening in Sudan, that we remain mobilized, that there are no double standards. This is why France, member of the Security Council and ally of Sudan with Germany and the European Union, took the initiative of this conference to show our will, our determination to put an end to this crisis from which people are suffering.
et l'Union européenne
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said on Monday that indiscriminate attacks, killing, injuring and terrorizing civilians in Sudan could amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. Guterres said that weekend attacks by RSF-affiliated militias west of al-Fasher, the capital of North Darfur, and the escalating hostilities on the outskirts of the city were a fresh cause for deep alarm.
Any attack on al-Fasher would be devastating for civilians and could lead to a full-blown intercommunal conflict across Darfur. It would also upend aid operations in an area already on the brink of famine, since al-Fasher has always been a critical UN humanitarian hub.
He spelled out the point of contention, saying there are two generals that have opted for a military solution and they have until now obstructed all serious efforts of mediation. War erupted in Sudan 1 year ago between Sudanese army and paramilitary rapid support forces. India has called for decisive action on United Nations Security Council reforms. Addressing the sixth round of intergovernmental negotiations on the UNSC reforms, India's permanent representative to the UN, Ruchira Kambot, said that the Security Council must champion an inclusive framework that truly represents the dynamic global landscape of today. She urged that the text-based negotiations must be converted into decisions within a fixed time frame.
India is in favour of expansion of UN Security Council membership in both the permanent and non-permanent categories, as we believe that this is the only way to achieve genuine reform of the Security Council and make it legitimate, representative, responsive and effective. In a nutshell, we need a reformed Security Council that better reflects the geographical and developmental diversity of the United Nations today. A Security Council where voices of developing countries and unrepresented regions, including Africa, Latin America, and the vast majority of Asia and the Pacific, also find their due place at the horseshoe table. And for this, an expansion of the Council in both categories of membership is absolutely essential.
The FBI is opening a criminal investigation after a huge container ship lost power and crashed into a major bridge in the U.S. city of Baltimore, killing 6 people. The investigation is aimed at determining if the cargo boat's crew left the port aware that the vessel had systemic problems before the deadly collision, which caused the Francis Key Bridge to dramatically collapse late last month. Nearly 24 Indian sailors are still on board. Benji Haya has more details.
The latest from the scene of that fatal crash was that FBI agents have embarked on the Dali just upstream from where I'm standing on the edge of the shipping channel in and out of Baltimore. They are there, they say, to conduct court-authorized law enforcement activity. They want to try to assess whether the crew who are still on board knew of any issues with the ship before it set sail. A 22-man crew, all but one of whom, I should say, are Indian citizens. It should be mentioned that the US Coast Guard did undertake a safety check of the vessel back in 2023. No deficiencies were found at the time. And this FBI probe is not the only ongoing investigation. The National Transportation Safety Board has one already underway to look into the cause of the disaster. There is going to be a preliminary report expected in the coming weeks, but a full report might not be published for another 2 years. In the meantime, President Joe Biden is promising to use federal funds to rebuild the Key Bridge, reconstruct it, a major crossing in the US city of Baltimore. But whilst the clearing of debris takes place and whilst there are plans to rebuild, at the same time, we're hearing from many different experts who are concerned that other bridges in the same vicinity could be vulnerable if there were to be a collision of this magnitude again. Benji Haya in Maryland, reporting for DD India.
At least 13 people were killed and several others were injured in a head-on collision between a bus and a pickup van on the Dhaka-Khulna highway in Bangladesh's Faridpur district on Tuesday. The accident took place at about 8 a.m. All the deceased were passengers of the pickup van. Superintendent of Police in Faridpur, Mohammad Morshed Alam, said that 11 people died on the spot and 2 were declared dead after being taken to a nearby hospital. The identities of the deceased could not be known immediately. Fire service team rushed to the spot and conducted rescue operations. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, stay with us as we decode for you why the central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh matters as India decides in 2024. It's a sight to behold in Sonmarg in India's Jammu and Kashmir's Gandarbal district as it receives a fresh spell of snowfall on Monday evening. And in football, Barcelona will take on Paris Saint-Germain in the return leg of their Champions League quarterfinals today. Borussia Dortmund will face Atletico Madrid in the second game.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live, and now we get to the latest on the world's largest democratic exercise in India. Campaigning has gained momentum with high-voltage political activities from all the parties ahead of India's general elections 2024, as the first phase of voting is slated for 19th of April. Spearheading the campaign, Prime Minister is visiting eastern state of West Bengal and Bihar to address public rallies on Tuesday. India's Home Minister and senior party leader Amit Shah will hold public rallies in Jammu, Uttarakhand and Madhya Pradesh today. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will hold a roadshow in Krishnagiri Lok Sabha constituency on Tuesday. Indian Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari will address a public rally in Maharashtra on Tuesday. President of Congress Party Mallikarjun Kharge will visit Nagaland to address an election rally in Dimapur on Tuesday. Congress leader and candidate from Wayanad parliamentary constituency Rahul Gandhi held a roadshow in Wayanad. CPI has fielded Annie Raja from the seat, while BJP has fielded its state unit chief K. Surendran. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra participated in a roadshow in Tripura on Tuesday. The roadshow was organized in support of the India Alliance candidates of the two Lok Sabha constituencies, Tripura West and Tripura East. Chief Minister of Punjab Bhagwant Mann will visit Gujarat on Tuesday for a two-day campaigning. Former Chief Minister of Telangana and Bharatiya Rashtra Samiti Supremo K. Chandrasekhar Rao will start his election campaign with a public meeting in Sangareddy on Tuesday. Samajwadi Party candidate from Mainpuri constituency Dimple Yadav will file nomination on Tuesday. Voting for the first phase of India's general elections will take place on April 19th. People in 102 constituencies across 21 states and union territories will cast their votes in the first phase. The general elections will be held in 7 phases, concluding on 1st of June. Counting of votes will take place on 4th of June. Hindustan ka dil dekho, a catchphrase of the Madhya Pradesh tourism, is enough to describe the state. Due to its geographical location, it is fondly called as the heart of India. India's largest tribal groups come from this state, and there is a Jungle Book connection with the state. Let us take a look at why Madhya Pradesh matters as India decides in 2024.
Located in the central India, Madhya Pradesh is also referred to as India's heart. The land that Rudyard Kipling was inspired by for his Jungle Book is home to magnificent mountain ranges, meandering rivers and extensive forests, including 25 sanctuaries, 10 national parks and 6 tiger reserves. It holds almost 20% of India's tiger population and houses 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, including the ancient Khajuraho temples and millennia-old Buddhist monuments at Sanchi and Paleolithic cave paintings at Bhimbetka. But similar to its cultural and scenic diversities, the state also has vibrant political character. In the year 2000, Madhya Pradesh was bifurcated into 2 states and Chhattisgarh was carved out of it. With an area of over 300,000 square kilometers, Madhya Pradesh is the second largest state in India and has 29 Lok Sabha or parliamentary seats. The state has a population of over 72.7 million with over 56 million voters. This includes over 28 million males and over 27.38 million female voters. The state also has 1,237 voters from the third gender. As per the 2024 general election schedule of the Election Commission of India, polling in Madhya Pradesh is taking place in 4 phases from April 19. In the 2023 State Assembly elections, the voters of Madhya Pradesh gave its mandate to Bharatiya Janata Party, which is currently governing the state. It won 163, which is 2/3 of the total 230 assembly seats in the state. Campaigns by Prime Minister Narendra Modi played a significant role in the party's performance in the state elections. Though the political issues of the state are complex, the election battles are usually between the BJP and the Indian National Congress, with no significant third player in the fray. Other parties like the Bahujan Samaj Party and Samajwadi Party also participate in the elections. In the general elections of 2019, the Bharatiya Janata Party won 28 seats out of 29 seats and the Congress won only 1 seat. As the summer sets in central India, beginning April, the political heat is also soaring in Madhya Pradesh amid the political battle for the 29 parliamentary seats in the general elections of 2024. Sujata Lochab for DD India.
In Tripura, electioneering is reaching a feverish pitch as leaders from various political parties are seen making last-ditch effort to woo the voters. In the first phase, Tripura West constituency will go to polls on April 19th. The state capital, Agartala, braces to witness major political showdown with a roadshow of Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra on 16th of April and a mega rally of senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 17th of April, the last day of campaigning. For the first time, the accredited media personnel in Tripura will also get the benefit to cast their votes through the ballot papers. The home voting for electorate above 85 years of age and for Divyangs in Tripura East parliamentary seat will be held on 17th and 18th of April. In Sikkim, election campaign for the simultaneous elections for the lone Lok Sabha seat and 32 seats of the State Legislative Assembly is going on in full swing. The ruling Sikkim Krantikari Morcha, opposition parties Sikkim Democratic Front, BJP, Congress and newly floated Citizen Action Party are making all-out efforts to garner support of the electorate across the state, which will go to polls on 19th of this month. As Gadchiroli district of Maharashtra is going for the polls in the first phase, that is on April 19th, multiple police forces were deployed in the Naxal hit area to conduct safe and peaceful elections. DD India correspondent Shishir Shelar gets us details from Gadchiroli.
Country's parliamentary election is going to start on 19th of April. This election is divided into 7 different phases, and the first phase will start from 19th of April. Well, the first phase is quite crucial for some of the states here, and Maharashtra is also one of them. The reason behind some of the sensitive areas in this particular entire states here. In Maharashtra particularly, the Gadchiroli district is known to be a Naxal affected district, and that's the reason the extra deployment of security forces have been put in place. Not just CRPF, RPF, local police. Along with that, a special task force, the anti-insurgency force C60, will also be deployed at various locations in Gadchiroli, especially to the sensitive polling booth. And that's the reason these C60 commandos are using some of the weapons, which are high-tech weapons. For the first time, they've also got 5 choppers from the Indian Army to patrol into the entire area. Right now, behind me, you can see these visuals where the C60 commandos are doing their practice on the D-Day. That means on the first phase of 19th April, these commandos will be deployed at the several locations across the Gadchiroli district for the patrolling and the security of the voters. Shir Shilar for DD India, Gadchiroli.
All right, on to sports now. Barcelona is ready for the battle against Paris Saint-Germain in the return leg of the Champions League quarter-final today. Barca hold a slender 3-2 advantage after the first leg in Paris last week as they bid to reach the semi-finals for just the second time in 8 seasons since lifting the trophy in 2015. Also, Borussia Dortmund will host Atletico Madrid in the second game on Tuesday. Dortmund are currently losing the tie 2-1 after the first leg in Madrid saw Diego Simeone's side take a 2-0 lead. Sonmarg in India's Jammu and Kashmir's Gandarbal district received a fresh spell of snowfall on Monday evening. The roofs of the tourist resorts and streets were covered under a layer of snow in Sonmarg. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.